Well, thank you for joining me. Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. I wanted to take a moment to continue my talks on my relationship experiences, which have always seemed to end up with me exiting the relationship. From what I find is that I've come up against covert emotional incest twice now, and it's really traumatizing. That's what I want to say. Because you can't, when you're in a relationship, you don't want to fail. You want to succeed, and you can talk about all this stuff with the person. And the problem with it all is when things start to fall apart and you are discussing what the problems are, and the funny part about it was the problems weren't between me and her directly. We had a few little hiccups, but I think as well, I'm used to having a woman by my side, and this woman would visit and I'd visit her. We had a great thing going there for a while. Then interference knocks on the door. And it's maternal interference. Once that starts, you can find yourself in all sorts of trouble. Terrible trouble. And this has been my experience twice now. Three times actually. When I was younger, I had a woman with a 10-year-old child, and he was good for the most part, but she kept him in line. She was good like that. These last two, they were frightened of their children, as it were. They put their children into positions that really it was horrible. Really, really horrible. Good for them. I mean, that was their family makeup, wasn't it? That's how it was meant to be. But when you see covert emotional incest in action, it's really traumatizing. It can traumatize you because it changes everything. It changes your perspective on everything. You can't rationalize it unless you know what covert emotional incest is. But that, just because you can rationalize it doesn't mean you can justify it. Now, the people in it can justify it quite easily. That's what they're going to do, and that's what they do. They justify the incest, the covert emotional incest. But what I'm amazed by is the strength of the bond beyond the maternal bond. The way in which and the lengths it'll go to protect itself. I've tried everything to try and come around covert emotional incest, and I haven't been successful twice now. Because I think once you have to ask a lady to confront her maternal values, if her maternal values are warped, and there's a grandized child or a golden child or a pedalized child or even a parentified child, something seems to tilt, like on a pinball machine. If you shake it, it tilts. Something seems to tilt. And I've watched these mothers try and split themselves, as it were, in trying to keep the child happy who's undermining the relationship, and keep the man happy who she's having the relationship with. And when a woman tries to split herself like that, it fragments them. It fragments their soul. So what it does is it's very exhaustive, psychologically exhaustive. And when they tire, that's when you can identify where their true values are, because they will relax into where their core the core part of their heart is. Now, if they're not relaxing into you, then they're not yours in the sense of the commitment. If they relax back to the covert emotional incest, then you have to quickly, very swiftly, be able to identify it. And I've got other videos on how you can do that. And leave. I can tell you from traumatic experience that you have to leave. Because if you've discussed the problem with the person, and it's very sad having to do that. Can you imagine sitting there with a woman and saying to her, you're like Alice out of the Brady Bunch. She's got 2 grown men, sons, this particular one, and she serves them like she's married to them. Now, how could anybody compete with that? Who would want to compete with that? Well, it depends. It depends how good these people are at deceiving you. Because they will. They will, if they can. Because they think once they've got you attached, that they'll be able to condition you down to where they think you need to be to fulfill whatever their need for you is in their life. You'll get the love bombing, the this, that, you're this and that, you're the king, you're the all this. But then their actions don't line up with their grandized words. And you have to be aware of what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. If a person hasn't got boundaries between herself and her adult children, and the children start to interfere, there will be one of 2 things happen. Either boundaries will be immediately put in place, or any sign of procrastination is an indication that you need to leave. Because procrastination isn't doing anything. They're not doing anything. They haven't got the courage. Their loyalties to the child or the men, whatever age these people are, won't allow them to. What you've got to remember, these people have spent a lifetime together. You've just come in out of nowhere. Your value level is not enough. Now, when you start having to demand somebody's attention, and you're asking that person, please, like I've come into this relationship, we've got it. It was a difficult relationship for many different reasons. But you're going over the same things. Please, can we have a little bit more time together? And once you start having to beg, it really is demoralizing. And I don't think I was begging, I was putting it out there. I need, we're going backwards. When things start going backwards, you need to leave. You need to have the strength to be able to leave. Because that's when they're going to start to try and condition you to see you in a minimal way while they're getting on with their life without you. so that you can over time be conditioned to be a convenience for those people, for that person. In my case, it was the mother, in several cases. Now, the reason why these people don't succeed in life is because they can't commit outside themselves. And it causes frustration, it causes aggravation, it causes terrible exasperation. And you're trying to convince yourself that it's okay. But then you'll see a couple that are together and that live together and everything's going fine, and you go, hang on a sec, that's what I would like. That's what I'm used to. And I can remember trying to build this relationship with this lady and be close to her and hold her and love her, not smother her, but she couldn't quite grasp it. There was something wrong. And that's when you start nitpicking. She said, I feel like you're nitpicking me, but you're not. You're screaming out for help. But it's being interpreted to be nitpicking. But it's not. It's, please, let's fix this problem. Please, it's fixable. But they're unable to because it's treading on corns. Then the person starts to withdraw because you're trying to get the relationship in order and it's not happening. So the person starts to withdraw. The next thing you know, there's less time together. There's tension. The next thing you know, the sun is starting to cause trouble, starting to disintegrate, starting to attack the relationship that you're trying to have with his mother. And she's just spectating. She doesn't know what to do. Never seen it before. Hasn't got the courage to say stop, because she didn't want it to stop. She probably liked the drama. Probably liked to see her son that she's created into the man that she always wanted, to see him standing up for something that really didn't exist. I remember saying to her, I don't even know what you people are on about. There's nothing, here to try and stop. Only the relationship. And if you put up with it, it'll go on and on and on and on. It'll just keep going on. It won't stop. It's like something heavy on your mind. I've spent hours trying to see the problem that you're trying to fix becomes a problem within the problem because it's putting pressure on the person that you're trying to have the relationship with. But the person that you're trying to have the relationship with doesn't know how to set up boundaries. And if they don't know how to set up boundaries, then nothing's going to get fixed, and it's going to become a carousel ride that leads to nowhere. So everything just goes round in circles. Time gets wasted. Trust gets lost. Closeness starts to disintegrate. let's say, closeness starts to disintegrate. And distance starts to set in. And you're looking at the relationship and you're going, I haven't caused this problem. It's coming from an outside influence. But I have no way of stopping it. I can remember saying to the woman, I can't fix this problem. I can't fix this problem. And neither could she. That was the whole thing about covert emotional incest. It wasn't fixable because I don't think they could completely recognise what was going on. You have to recognise it. You have to believe what you're seeing and believe what you're feeling. Believe that there's a lust going on between the parent and the child. It's not physical. I'm not saying it can't end up there, but it's not physical. It's emotional. And you're not a part of it. You're not invited into it. And so the problem that you've got becomes the answer for them. Because the more you push to try and fix, the more you'll be removed. And guess where they end up? Together in their covert emotional incest. This is why you've got to get out quick when you realise that it's there. Because you'll be left on your own, unfulfilled, with attention deficit. Horrible, horrible situation. This is Dr. Jason W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.